In the shadows of the UK, where fog hangs heavy and secrets linger, evil finds fertile ground. I'm Ellie, and this is Ellie on Evil, a descent into the abyss of the human soul. I don't just recount crimes, I dissect the anatomy of malice, peeling back the layers of depravity that shroud the UK's most infamous killers and criminals. Each story is a chilling exploration of the darkness that dwells within, a stark reminder of the fragility of innocence. Prepare yourself for a journey into the heart of darkness, where the line between sanity and madness blurs, and the true cost of evil is laid bare. Welcome to Ellie on Evil, where we confront the demons that haunt our nightmares. The death of Arthur Labinjo-Hughes in 2020 stands as one of the most disturbing child abuse cases in recent British history. At just 6 years old, Arthur suffered prolonged cruelty at the hands of those responsible for his care: his father, Thomas Hughes, and his stepmother, Emma Tustin. The case not only shocked the public due to its brutality, but also raised deeper questions about how such extreme abuse can occur within a family setting, and what psychological forces shape individuals capable of inflicting it. Arthur's abuse escalated over months following the imprisonment of his mother. During this period, he was systematically starved, dehydrated, isolated, and physically harmed. Evidence presented in court showed that he was forced to stand for hours, deprived of basic care, and psychologically tormented. Disturbingly, his suffering was sometimes recorded and shared between the adults as a form of control or punishment. The fatal incident occurred in June 2020, when Emma Tustin violently shook Arthur, causing catastrophic brain injuries. Despite his clear distress, neither adult sought timely medical help. Arthur died shortly thereafter. In 2021, Tustin was convicted of murder and Hughes was convicted of manslaughter, both receiving lengthy prison sentences. Understanding the psychology behind such acts does not and will not excuse them, but it can help explain how they become possible. Cases like Arthur's often involve a convergence of several harmful psychological dynamics. Firstly, dehumanization and moral disengagement. One of the most striking elements in this case is the apparent dehumanization of Arthur. Perpetrators of severe abuse frequently detach emotionally from their victims, seeing them not as vulnerable individuals but as objects of frustration or control. Psychologist Albert Bandura described moral disengagement as a process by which individuals justify harmful behaviour by minimising its impact or shifting blame. In Arthur's case, recorded messages suggested that the adults framed him as naughty or deserving of punishment, allowing them to rationalise escalating cruelty. Secondly, coercive control and toxic dynamics. The relationship between Hughes and Tustin likely played a critical role. In some abusive households, one dominant individual drives the abuse while the other becomes complicit through fear, through dependency, or emotional alignment. This dynamic can create a feedback loop where abusive behaviour is normalised and reinforced. Hughes' failure to intervene, even as Arthur's condition visibly deteriorated, suggests a breakdown of parental protective instincts, possibly overridden by loyalty, fear, or psychological submission. Thirdly, projection and displaced aggression. Abusers sometimes project their own frustrations, insecurities, or unresolved trauma onto a child. A child may become a scapegoat for stress, resentment, or perceived failures. In this context, Arthur may have been treated not as a child with needs, but as a target for emotional release. This mechanism, known as displaced aggression, allows perpetrators to vent anger onto someone more powerless than them. fourthly, empathy deficit and personality traits. Extreme abuse such as this often involve individuals with significantly impaired empathy. Not all perpetrators meet the criteria for clinical disorders. However, traits associated with antisocial or narcissistic tendencies, such as a lack of remorse, need for control, and emotional coldness, are often present. The ability to witness prolonged suffering without intervention indicates a profound deficit in emotional responsiveness. And finally, the boiling frog effect, or gradual escalation. Severe abuse rarely begins at its most extreme level. Instead, it escalates gradually. Small acts of neglect or harsh discipline can evolve into more severe mistreatment as boundaries erode. Over time, what would once have seemed unthinkable becomes normalized. This incremental progression allows perpetrators to adapt psychologically from their own behavior. For example, if you put a frog in boiling water, it will immediately jump out. But if you put the frog in cold water and slowly heat it, the frog won't notice the danger and will eventually be boiled. Hence the phrase, boiling frog effect. Arthur's case also exposed systemic failures. Despite interactions with social services and schools, the warning signs were just not effectively acted upon. This highlights the importance of vigilance, communication, and intervention in safeguarding children. Abuse thrives in silence and isolation. Breaking that silence is essential. In conclusion, the case of Arthur Labinjo-Hughes is a stark and painful reminder of how sustained cruelty can develop behind closed doors, often escalating gradually until it reaches a devastating outcome. Understanding the psychological mechanisms involved, such as dehumanization, moral disengagement, and the boiling frog effect, help illuminate how such abuse can persist unchecked. But beyond analysis, this case ultimately underscores a much more urgent truth: responsibility in all of us to recognize, to respond to, and to prevent harm. Abuse does not always appear suddenly or obviously. It can build quietly, making it harder for victims and sometimes even those around them to fully grasp the danger in time. That is why awareness, vigilance, and intervention are so critical. No child or person of any age, for that matter, should be left to endure suffering in silence. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, it is vital to reach out for help. Speaking to a trusted friend, teacher, family member, or professional can be the first step towards safety. In the United States, support is available through organizations like Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline, which is 1-800-4A-CHILD, and the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is 1-800-799-7233, or thehotline.org, both of which offer confidential guidance and support 24/7. Reaching out can feel difficult, but it can also save lives. No one deserves to be hurt, controlled, or made to feel powerless. And help, I promise, is always available. The echoes of evil linger long after the story's end. In Ellie on Evil, we've dared to confront the darkness that festers within the human heart, peering into the abyss where morality fades and nightmares take hold. But the shadows we've encountered tonight are not confined to the past. They serve as a chilling reminder of the potential for evil that lurks within us all. A constant battle against the darkness that threatens to consume us. As we bid farewell, remember the lessons learned, the horrors witnessed, and the fragile line that separates us from the monsters we fear. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay wary, and never forget the darkness that we have uncovered in Ellie on Evil.